Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 473 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger himself, the main man, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
I'm great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Same as ever. We're going to dive straight into the review part of the show. We're going to start here with a card that took place last Friday, November the 1st, at the old Odyssey Arena, the SSE Arena in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Over here we saw Padraig McCrory move to 19-1, a points win there against Leonard Carrillo, now 17-6. Carrillo down in the first round, but managed to, hear the final bell in the 10th. McCrory as well was cut above the left eye in round 8 there. Also on the card, the main event, Robbie Davies Jr. moved to 24-5. A really close fight. A points win for him over 10 rounds against Javier Fortuna, now 38-5 with a draw. Robbie Davies down in the 10th and final round, but had already done enough on the cards to secure the victory. Very, very boring fight. Very dull. Could have gone either way. Horrible to watch. And I'm guessing that this kind of fight really was almost like the winner would go on to maybe a bigger fight and the loser probably should think about hanging up the gloves now. I don't think either man, based on that the other night, really has much left to offer at all. So I would very much fancy Robbie Davies to lose his next fight. And obviously Javier Fortuna, who again arguably could have done enough to win it. It was close. He probably needs to step away now. Moving now to the Resorts World Arena in Birmingham, West Midlands, United Kingdom. This one was live on TNT. It was a decent card here. Like I say, a Frank Warren card with Queensbury. Let's start with the undercard. I want to touch on this actually. Echo Esserman, 21-1 now. A majority decision for him over 10 rounds. A successful defense of his WBO European welterweight title. Good win there for Echo Esserman against the undefeated 10-0 Ben Vuong. We knew going into this fight that Echo Esserman was the much more experienced guy and all the rest of it. But the bookies had it quite close. I think Esserman was a slight favourite, but they were giving Ben Vuong a big chance in the bookies. And I've got to say, I hadn't actually seen Vuong fight in the past, and obviously kind of got himself to 10-0, hadn't really boxed anyone, and he hadn't been over a number of rounds. It was like 6 rounds. I don't think he'd been past 6 rounds, something like that. Anyway, credit to him, because, he did not stop coming all night. He was cut, he suffered swelling to both his eyes, but still hung in there, giving it his all. And like I say, only lost very, very, minimally. He lost the majority. So, very good fight. I do want to see Ben Vuong again. I don't think he deserves to get kicked to the curb after that. I think he did enough. Where I think he's probably, earned a few new fans. I'm certainly one of them. And I'd like to see him again. Like I say, I can't emphasize enough how much he gave his all the other night, left everything in the ring. And, it was a very big step up. And Echo Esserman, I think, even though he's 35 now, I still think he's got a few good fights left in him at this point. Obviously, the pace that Esserman set late on. Well, I can't really mention pace without talking about the pace that Ben Vuong set early on. But obviously, as the rounds went on, that work rate of Vuong seemed to kind of as we all expected, kind of fade a little bit. Echo Esserman was able to pick up the late rounds and close the show quite nicely. But a really, really good fight. Wouldn't mind seeing it again at all. Fantastic fight there. Like I say, I think Esserman's still got a couple years left at a good level, and yeah, I'd like to see him pushed on. I'd like to see him with some of the other kind of big name guys. Very good fighter, really interesting style, and last couple of fights that he's had have been brilliant. Also on the card, we saw Chantel Cameron move to 20-1, a unanimous decision over 10-2s for the WBC interim super lightweight world title against Patricia Bergholt, now 17-2. Credit to Patricia Bergholt as well, I have to say, because she took some really big shots early on from Cameron. And it was looking at a point that, it was looking like we might see a stoppage late on in the fight, because Cameron was just getting to her. Cameron was hitting her with big shots early on. I think the hand speed and just pretty much the overall compactness of Chantel Cameron. She was able to just keep her shape nicely and pretty much get through the guard of Bergholt, because Bergholt's a bit long, gangly, and was not really able to fight on the inside when it did get on the inside, which it did for large parts of that fight. So Chantel Cameron landed a lot of big shots, looked like she might get the stoppage, and Bergholt, to her credit, hung in there and obviously didn't want to get stopped at all, and managed to get to the final bell. But yeah, I think she probably lost every round there to Chantel Cameron, who marches on. We all want to see that third Katie Taylor fight. All the best to Chantel there, friend of the show, of course. Moving up to the main event, another friend of the show, Liam Davies, unfortunately lost his O. He's now 16-1. A split decision loss over 12 rounds for Shabazz Massoud, now 14-0, that one for the IBO Super Bantamweight World title. Davies cut over his right eye in the fourth round by a punch. It was quite a bad cut as well. Really, really, really good fight once again. I was really impressed with Shabazz Massoud. Honestly, he was brilliant the other night, Obviously, I'm a big fan of Liam Davies, but yeah, Shabazz Massoud was excellent, and I said it on last week's show. We've heard stories, there's been whispers about Shabazz Massoud for years, and we haven't seen the best of him, and it seemed like these stories were around for a long time, but we didn't really see anything spectacular under the bright lights. It did take a while, but we did see it the other night. It all came together there. The feints, which is such a Ben Davison, I think, tactic. Constant feints from Shabazz Massoud, keeping Liam Davies second guessing and overthinking all the time. The constant feints, the footwork, the level changes. He showed a fantastic jab as well. Shabazz Massoud, a really good jab. Fast hands. He showed a good chin. He took some big shots here and there from Liam Davies. So yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with Shabazz Massoud, and I think his future is extremely bright. I can't really emphasize enough how much I feel bad for Liam Davies, because he's just in a really tough division. I mean, he got right up there, he picked up an IBO world title for whatever that's worth, but got right up there in the rankings. Certainly one of the most talked about guys at the weight, but unfortunately the champion is Naoya Inoue, and he's got all the belts at the weight, so you don't really give Liam Davies a chance in that fight, and I don't think deep down you'd want to take that fight anyway. So yeah, he was kind of waiting it out, boxing other guys, and got into a little bit of a British grudge match. The only thing is, Shabazz Massoud doesn't have the same name value of someone like a Andrew Kane or someone like Dennis McCann, who Liam Davies has been previously linked with. So unfortunately, Massoud doesn't have the name of those guys, but he's been able to pull off this win here, and I think he's had fewer fights as well than those guys, so it does leave Liam Davies in a bit of a tough spot. I hope he's okay. Like I say, nice guy, very, very, very good fighter, but he just come up against someone who stylistically gave him nightmares, and I don't think it was that close of a fight. I think It took Davies a long time to get going. I think he probably lost the first 4 or 5 rounds in a row, and ultimately just left it a little bit too late. There were times in the fight where both men were just going at it, letting their hands go, and in those moments there, Liam Davies was able to land some great shots. But like I say, Shabazz Massoud always showed a good chin. He kept himself composed and was able to even land the eye-catching shots and, get back to his boxing efficiently. So it was a really good performance from Shabazz Massoud. Moving on now to the Virgin Hotels Las Vegas in Nevada, USA. This one I think was live on DAZN if I'm not mistaken. Over here we saw on the undercard Darius Folger move to 13-0, a TKO for him in the third against Christopher Pearson, who's now 17-5 with a draw. Pearson down in the first round but TKO'd in the third. Also on the card, what a performance here from Gabriela Fundora. She's now 15-0. A TKO for her in round 7 against Gabriela Alaniz, now 15-2. That one was a unification there for the flyweight world titles, IBF, WBC, WBO. I don't think the WBA was on the line. I don't think it was an undisputed fight. I don't know who does hold the WBA at the moment at flyweight with the women, but unification fight, very good fighters at the top of their games here, and Fundora was just too good for Alaniz. And it was strange because Alaniz was down in the 7th round from a shot, and she kind of said, oh no, it was a slip or something like that. She didn't think it should have been a knockdown, so apparently she wasn't hurt. But then when she got back up, she beat the count. She was all annoyed at the referee for giving her a count. And then the first punch that Gabriela lands after that, it was about 3 or 4 seconds later, she's down again and heavy, and that is when they stopped the fight. So she obviously was hurt from the first knockdown and kind of played it off. But yeah, what a performance from Gabriela Fundora. Again, Alaniz had her moments, but Fundora was just excellent when they were exchanging. Fundora, man, for being, again, she reminds me so much of her brother, for being so tall for the weight. And you kind of feel like, as a tall fighter, you need a bit of distance to kind of, get your shots off. But her and her brother, and Tyson Fury, I kind of put them all together as really tall fighters. I was going to say tall guys, really tall fighters who have got such a fantastically underrated inside game, and that's what we saw again from Fundora. She had much more spite on her shots than Alaniz, and it was too much for Alaniz. So what a win there for Fundora. Also on the card, Bektemir Melikuziev, Bek the Bully, moved to 15-1, a split decision over 12 rounds at super middleweight against David Stevens, now 14-2. Quite a good fight. I mean, I think they seriously overlooked David Stevens. I know that the bookies were expecting a Melikuziev KO. So was I, to be honest with you. But again, to David Stevens' credit, turned up, wasn't worried at all, didn't believe in the hype, didn't come to lie down, and he came and gave it a right good go, came to fight, and certainly in the early, or maybe even the first half of the fight, was kind of dictating things, really. I liked the pace he was setting. He was able to outbox Melikuziev at times, and Melikuziev was growing in frustration in that ring. But to his credit, because he did look very tired around the midway rounds, to his credit, he did kind of come on strong late on Melikuziev, which not many people expected. But he was blowing quite hard after about 3 rounds, so he did well to kind of claw back, if you like. But again, a really close fight, could have gone either way. Well, no, I'd say Melikuziev probably did enough late on to actually legitimately win it. So it's a good fight, by the way, and I'm sure a learning fight for Melikuziev. In the main event, I actually missed this one, but Floyd Schofield moved to 18-0, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds. He was down in the 11th against Rene Giron, who's now 20-4. A win in the end for Schofield, but obviously he didn't want to be touching down in the 11th, which he did. He did come out afterwards and quite ridiculously say that the fight was originally supposed to be a 10-rounder, so we only trained for a 10-rounder. Then they put it on him and say, no, it's now going to be a 12-rounder, so he wasn't apparently prepared enough to do the extra 2 rounds, and that's why he got knocked down. sounds like a really, really silly thing to come out with. And I think if he had a PR manager around him or someone with a few brain cells, they'd have probably told him not to come out and say something as stupid as that, because it really does sound ridiculous. It's had people commenting back saying, you're a young kid, you should be training for 15 rounds, never mind 10. So he's made himself look a bit silly there. But nonetheless, he won the fight, and it's all about learning at this stage for him. I'm sure he's still got quite a lot more to do. Moving now to the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in Verona, New York, USA. This was the final card to mention. We saw over here Damian Naiba. Yeah, you've done rounds with him in the gym, Eddie. He moved to 14-0, a TKO for him in the third against Richard Lartey, who's now 16-7. Again, some people will remember Richard Lartey. He's been in the UK boxing, a few of our heavyweights. Also on the card as well, Raymond Muratalla moved to 22-0, a TKO for him in the second round against Jesus Campos, now 25-6. Once again, I want to echo that Muratalla does seem to be improving every single fight now, and I really think he's getting into his prime. He's a top fighter at the weight. Also on the card as well, I didn't see this one, but Abraham Nova, 23-3 with a draw, because he drew a split draw with Humberto Galindo, now 14-3 with 3 draws. He went 10 rounds, but like I say, a split draw there. And I thought that Abraham Nova would probably win that one, but like I say, he was a big favourite, and it was a closer fight than many expected. And the main event, we saw that rematch between Robson Conceição and Oshaki Foster. Conceição now 19-3 with a draw. Oshaki Foster now 23-3. It was great to see the rematch happen, obviously, because we didn't feel, or most people didn't feel, that the first fight outcome was the right one. We all felt that Oshaki Foster won the first fight and kind of got his belt stolen off him by the judges. They gave it to Conceição. In this fight, he was able to get his revenge, Oshaki Foster, so he reclaims his WBC super featherweight world title. However, it wasn't a great fight to watch at all, and to Conceição's credit, he boxed really smart in the first few rounds, really, really smart. He was just outworking Oshaki Foster, who, for me, at that point in those early rounds, I was thinking to myself, okay, he's gone into this fight with 100% confidence that he's too good for Conceição. I understand why he'd be thinking that. However, he can't afford to give up rounds thinking that he's going to catch him late on. And I did think he was fighting with the wrong tactics. It took him a long time to get going. It seemed like he had a bit of a mental block or something early on. He just didn't seem himself. Conceição was racking up the rounds. Then Conceição began to kind of fade a little bit, and Oshaki started to then take over. But again, I think it was quite risky from Oshaki, particularly because again he had the fight ripped from him in the first fight that they had. He had the result ripped from him, so you don't want to have the second fight knowing that you can't give up rounds. You need to really be on your A game, and then decide to give up, the first few rounds in a row. It was bizarre, but like I say, he was a massive underdog during the fight with the odds and stuff, but then he went into the massive favourite, so he did come back from being behind on the cards to actually winning the fight. Again, there are a lot of people that felt Conceição did actually deserve to win, and again, it obviously ended in a split decision. So I saw a lot of people on Twitter giving it to Conceição. I think there was even one person who had it like 10-2 for Conceição. The person on Twitter is at XSOLIDUMX. That guy there, he had it 10-2 for Conceição. So I don't know if he was being biased or something there, but that was madness. Anyway, I'm happy for Oshaki. Will they run it back again and make a third fight of it? I don't think I really want to see it, in all honesty. I think he won the first fight, and I think, even though it was close, I'm happy that he got it in the second fight, and that's it. We don't need to see a third one between these guys. I think Robson Conceição has won a world title on the time that he didn't deserve to win it. He should have been a champion prior to that. I'm happy that he is now going to go down in the history books, but he didn't deserve to beat Usyk the first time. Usyk's got his belt back, and hopefully that's the end of this saga. Robson Conceição's still a capable fighter that can come back and beat other guys, but yeah, I don't really think he should be bouncing straight back in at this kind of level. And I think Usyk Foster just needs to fight someone else, because he's wasting his prime years, in these 12-round fights, because a lot of his fights are now starting to go 12 rounds and stuff. I know he's not the biggest puncher, but he's a capable fighter, and you don't want to waste too much, give up too much mileage, without getting the massive paychecks, which I think he could get. There's still a lot of talk on social media and stuff. There's a lot of backs and forths that I've seen. I think even him and I want to say Raymond Ford had a little bit of a back and forth, if I'm not mistaken. Wouldn't mind seeing those types of fights, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that brings the review part to a close. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning EBU European Lightweight Champion, the reigning British Lightweight Champion, and of course, he's from Maidstone. His hands are made of stone. It is Mr. Sam Noakes. Sam, welcome back on.
I'm happy to be back, mate. I love hearing that intro.
So, Sam, we last spoke back in August. You're getting a proper regular now. At the time, you were getting ready to fight Italy's Gianluca Ceglia. To his credit, he was quite tough, Sam.
Yeah, he was very tough. To be fair, probably harder than I thought he was going to be. He was a lot more durable as well, because I remember hitting him with a shot, and I remember hurting my left hand in the fight. I thought, God, if that hurt my hand, that must have hurt his head. But credit to himself, he was very tough, very durable. Had a few more tricks up his sleeve than I thought, but we got the win, and then obviously got the stoppage, back on the streak. But yeah, he's a lovely fella as well afterwards. I spoke to him a little bit afterwards on Instagram and that. But yeah, it was good. It's good to keep winning through and obviously get back on that stoppage streak.
Yeah, these Italians seem to be nice guys after the fight.
Yeah, I thought, because at first, obviously we had that little niggle at the press conference, and I thought, I wonder how he's going to be. But he was sweet. He asked me the gloves that I fought in, so I give him them for him to take home and that. And yeah, he's all right. I spoke to him a little bit after. He's a nice fella. That's how he should be, though, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. On to the next one. You'll be boxing on December 7th at the Wembley Arena against Ryan Walsh. Am I right in saying, Sam, that up until Ryan Walsh upset Reece Mould, that you probably weren't looking at Ryan Walsh at all?
No, I think it might have been spoke about. He done a little interview a year or so ago, but obviously, like I said, I don't really focus on anyone in there anyway. I just sort of fight who they put in front of me, to be honest. And obviously, like him. Well, it was a bit of a shocker for it, really, because I would have put Reece Mould up there with one of the better boys in the division in the country, and obviously, like Ryan Walsh got through him in like the first round and looked good doing it. So obviously, I think it's just a good fight. He's a veteran of the game, been in some real hard fights. You know what I mean? Like he's got my utmost respect with that, and I think it'll be a good test for me and a good place to see where I'm at.
Yeah, because behind Mendy, would you say maybe Ryan Walsh is probably your second best opponent you'd have faced?
Yeah, I think he's probably going to pose a few more problems than Mendy, though, to be honest. I think durability-wise, they're probably going to be about the same. But I reckon Ryan Walsh's probably going to be a bit more aggressive than Mendy was, Okay. I'm hoping, maybe Mendy would have been a bit more aggressive, but I shut it out. So I'm hoping the same thing happens anyway. So...
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like I say, Ryan's been quite inactive in recent years. Then all of a sudden pops up with that brilliant win.
He's got plenty of fight left in him.
Yeah, it seems that way. How hard of a fight are you expecting then, come the 7th?
Yeah, to be fair, I think it's going to be tough. Like, I mean, obviously, like he's sort of last chance saloon, isn't he? I mean, obviously, he's going to be gunning for it. I mean, what's going on in his head is obviously, he's got that good win against Mould, but then obviously if he gets shut out by me, then he's going to have been to know, like, nothing, really. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he's just going to sort of get shut, the door closed. Obviously, unfortunately for him, the door is going to get closed on him going any further because I do not plan on losing. But I know he's going to come to win, and obviously he ain't got quit in him. Like, do you know what I mean? He's still doing it at the age that he's at. And obviously he's never been stopped, and he's been in there with some real good fighters. So I know it's a live fight. I know I'm going to have to be on my A game. The performance I put out there last time round ain't going to cut it. So I know that I've got to up my game and box how I was with Mendy and sort of go back in with that same mind frame. But obviously, where it's a little bit more of a live fight, it makes it a little bit more exciting for me.
And I'm going to blame it on lazy journalism, but am I right in saying that this will finally be the first time you and Sean are boxing on the same card as pros?
Yes, because we were meant to do it before, but then my opponent pulled out fight week.
Okay, yeah, that's it. I remember that. That was Wembley Arena, wasn't it? I remember you was eating popcorn on the night.
Yeah. Yard, who was it? Yard
Beterbiev, yeah, that's it, yeah.
January 22nd. No, was it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
No, Joe Joyce. Was it? No, Joe Joyce, wasn't it? It was in June or September, it was. Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, same card.
You're right. Same venue. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, same venue. Yeah, same venue.
So are you happy about that, or maybe a little bit nervy?
I'm happy. What, about being on the same card as Sean? Oh, yeah, I'm happy. I mean, obviously, like, he's wanted it for ages. I know he loves it. I mean, me, to be honest, I'm like, it's just another fight, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not obviously like, that would be nice to look back after we both got the wins, but at the end of the day, we've still got to focus on the job at hand, you know, rather than, like, obviously it's going to be good, and I think the build-up will be nice. Obviously, we're going to the weigh-ins together, on the presses together. That will be good, and obviously we bounce off each other in interviews as well, which is good. But as obviously when it comes to the night, I'm sort of just thinking, I've got a good test in front of me. Like, Ryan Walsh ain't going to just keel over, unfortunately. You know, he's not just going to let me win. So I've sort of just solely been thinking on that, to be honest.
See, that's interesting there, that obviously it's the same venue. We got a little bit confused there about the Beterbiev Yard card, but on that Beterbiev Yard card, of course, we saw two brothers also boxing on the bill for the same time as pros. Yeah. The Atalma brothers, and obviously Carroll ended up getting stopped, didn't he? And then Moses made his debut. Nightmare situation. So, anyway, you're both finally boxing on the same night, so I'm guessing it's going to be pizza around your mum's after the fight.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Pizza around my mum's. Definitely.
And it did seem like you and Mark Chamberlain were on a bit of a collision course to wind up fighting each other. Obviously, he suffered that massive upset loss to Josh Padley. What have you made of that, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's like, I'm not one of these fighters that kick a man with his down, innit? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've always said it was a fight that I would have come to took any time anyway. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's a little bit of a stinker, really, because we've done all that big build-up. And now, obviously, that fight could potentially happen, but he's just going to have to sort of work himself back into the position. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because realistically, if you wanted to close that case, you would just fight with Josh Padley and then beat him, and then you beat the man, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? But to be honest, the thing is, boxing can change with just one phone call. Like, the fight can be made tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it's definitely sort of lost the same push that everybody had. I'm actually interested to see, because we've got a press conference tomorrow about how many questions I get asked about that. Because before, obviously, everyone was on, so when are you going to fight Chamberlain? Like, when are you going to fight Chamberlain? But obviously now that sort of fizzled out a little bit, innit?
Yeah, I guess.
It's a shame, really, because it would have been, what should have happened is I should have fought him on September the 21st at Wembley. That's what should have happened. But hey-ho.
Yeah. A week before your fight, Sam, I wanted to maybe get your views on this one, but another fight taking place in your division, Cameron Vuong in a step-up against Gavin Gwynne. You got any thoughts on that?
Mate, I'd say fair play to Cameron Vuong. He's not very old, is he? What's he, 20, 21, 22?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, like, technically-wise, he probably is, without a doubt, the better fighter out of the two, but you cannot sleep on Mr. Gwynne. Like, the geezer's got some work rate, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of them. It's either going to be Cameron Vuong's going to come out an absolute superstar, or it's just going to be too soon for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's only had 6 fights as a pro. It's a big step up.
That's what I'm saying. Mate, that's what I'm saying. That's off to him for taking it that early on. But, you know, it's going to be either one of the two. It's either going to just be like, right, it was too early, or he's going to come through with shining colours and look $1 million, isn't he?
Yeah, I agree. And without looking past Ryan Walsh, of course, do you kind of have a target in mind or a goal that you want to achieve in 2025, Sam, from your boxing career?
I'd like to fight for a world title, without doubt.
That's the year.
Like, it was such a close chance of getting it on the Fury card. Ooh. But, you know, you're better than anyone, the politics of this game and all that. It was so close and always gutted I was, but listen, you just got to keep rolling with it, innit? But if it don't happen this year, well, it ain't going to happen this year now because I'm fighting Ryan Walsh, but I reckon next year I will fight for a world title, without a doubt.
Can you tell us who it would have been against or not?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know, 'cause it ain't going to come up. I think the rumours are obviously with Baranchik.
Right.
But I think everyone said yeah, but I just think he had another deal with another company or whatever, so it just didn't quite fit, which is a bit of a shame, but politics. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would have been a fucking hard fight, but you can't not chuck yourself into a world title fight, can you?
No, not at all. That would have been some brilliant fight there.
Oh, what an end to the year that would have been. Eh? Imagine winning that, got every belt from fucking British to world.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Would have been so down. No, I don't. When I got the phone call, I was fucking buzzing. I was, but obviously, yeah, tangled the carrot. But it's close. It's close.
Okay, hopefully we get it.
It's never closer.
If you've got any closing words before we wrap this up, Sam, just take it away, my man.
Just thanks for listening, guys, as always, and tune in on the 7th.
There we go, short and sweet. Listen, Sam, as always, the pleasure's mine, my friend. Thanks for your time again, and we'll speak sometime after the fight, mate.
No problem, mate. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Just one piece to bring you, and it's that DAZN and Queensberry have announced a historic global media rights deal from April the 1st, 2025. DAZN will be the exclusive global broadcast partner of Queensberry Promotions. So that's kind of groundbreaking. That is kind of, telling me that I'm going to need to carry on with my DAZN subscription, because all of Golden Boy, all of Matchroom, all of DAZN, all of this, not that I watch it, but all this Misfits boxing rubbish is all on there. So yeah, that's the home of boxing, it seems like, and it's going to be that way for years to come. Apparently they're promising 150 fight nights a year on DAZN now, and that's obviously spread across Matchroom, as I say, Misfits, Queensberry, and Golden Boy. So yeah, you got to be a DAZN subscriber or have a Fire Stick to be a proper boxing fan in 2025, it would seem. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to move with the times. Moving on, though, to the preview part of the show. This one goes down tomorrow, Friday the 8th of November, at the Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia, USA. It's going to be live on ESPN. It's a top-ranked show. Let's start down the undercard. We're going to see Abdullah Mason, 15-0, stepping in with Johan Vasquez, who's 26-5. That's over 8 rounds at lightweight. We're going to see friend of the show, Troy Isley, 13-0, stepping in with Tyler Howard, who's 20-1. That one's over 10 rounds at middleweight. We're going to see Rais Alim, 20-1, stepping in with Derlin Geraldo, who's 12-2 with a draw. That's over 10 rounds at featherweight. And a really juicy main event, a homecoming fight here for Keyshawn Davis, 11-0, and Gustavo Daniel Lemos, 29-1. It's over 10 rounds at 1 at lightweight. Really, really, really good fight, by the way. Really good fight. Obviously, Lemos, I remember him beating Lee Selby. He was a lightweight then. But then he moved up. And obviously boxed Richardson Hitchens last time out, boxed him at 140 and arguably won that fight. I mean, most people felt he won that fight. And he's now back down at lightweight. So he put in a really good performance at the weight above. So a lot of people are looking at Gustavo Lemos as a 30-0 fighter here. So I tell you what, I mean, I've got to go and look at the odds on this, because I think there's some money to be made on Lemos if the price is right. I just want to see how close they've got it, though. Let's have a look here. Wow, Lemos is 4-1. That's just insane. He's 8-1 for the KO and 10-1 to win on points. The bookies are expecting Keyshawn to win on points. I can understand that. There's no way he's going to stop Lemos. But it's a really, 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 really good fight. I'm a massive fan of Davis. I really enjoy watching Keyshawn. I've said it time and time again. I think he's a really, exciting fighter. I like the way he kind of can box and can fight. And I really just enjoy watching him. I think he's also a guy that's getting better and better. But this is a massive, massive, massive step up. And yeah, I mean, we've seen Keyshawn kind of step up before. He was knocking people out early on, then he stepped up a bit, and whenever he'd step up, he wouldn't get a stoppage win, things like that. And this is, the biggest step up of his career by some serious margin. So, again, if Davis is to win this, it will be on points, but it's certainly not going to all go his way. There's no way it's all going to go his way. It's going to be a tough fight, this. And Lemos has every chance. And I tell you what, 10-1 for a points win, I might actually have to put something small on that, because I definitely wouldn't bet against that happening. Really, really good fight though, and I think the styles will clash really, really well. I think they're going to gel. I think it's going to be a very good fight from the off, so you don't want to miss that one tomorrow night. Moving now to the Coliseo Ruben Rodriguez in Puerto Rico. Over here, we're going to see former champion Subriel Matias back in Puerto Rico, or Puerto Rico I should be saying. He's 20-2. He's back in a 10-rounder against Roberto Ramirez, who's 26-3 with a draw. I'm not sure what's going on with Matias. Obviously he lost to Liam Parrow. Liam Parrow's now having his next fight against Richardson Hitchens. And Subriel Matias, it seems like, is just boxing, back in Puerto Rico. So I don't know if he's been dumped from the bright lights of the zone, and I think he was maybe with Matchroom, or it might have been a fight-by-fight deal. But anyway, you don't want to get rid of Subriel Matias. He's still a fantastic fighter, so I don't know if he's just doing like a local promoter a favour here, but can't understand why he's boxing. But again, there can be millions of reasons. Could have been the fact that they're finding it hard to get him on a card, and he wants to get out again before the year's out just to keep active, to come back with a win. I don't know. But anyway, he's on this card here. Obviously, he won't be getting paid loads of money. He's probably doing someone a favour, and he's keeping himself active at the same time. So, yeah, big attraction there if you go into the Coliseo Ruben Rodriguez in Bayamon. You're going to see a real world-level fighter there. Moving now to the Osceola Heritage Park in Florida. Over here, friend of the show, Joseph Jojo Diaz gets out. He's 33-6 with a draw. He's back in a 10-rounder this weekend. No opponent just yet for him. Hopefully one gets sorted in time. This one goes down actually next Tuesday in Miami, Florida. I do just want to mention this just quickly, and then I'm going to move back to this Saturday. But anyway, this one takes place next Tuesday, so by the time we record the podcast next week, the fight would have already took place. But Guillermo Rigondo returns to the ring, 22-3. He's back in a 10-rounder at Super Bantam against Danis Arias, who's 20-2. All the best there to Rigondo. Moving back then to Saturday, so in 2 days' time, at the Wells Fargo Center. We're going to finish up here, Eddie, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's going to be live on DAZN. I'm going to touch on the undercard. We're going to see Austin Amo Williams, 16-1. It's a really good undercard. He steps in with Gian Garrido, who's 11-1. That's over 8 rounds. We're also going to see friend of the show, knockout artist, Mr. Ernesto Mercado, 16-0, stepping in with Jesus Saracho, who's 14-2 with a draw. That's over 10 rounds there. You've got Khalil Coe as well on the undercard. We're also going to see Raymond Ford, 15-1 with a draw, friend of the show, back out again in his comeback fight. After losing to Nick Ball, he steps in with Orlando Gonzalez, who is 23-2. All the best there to Ray Ford. Also on the card as well, defending his WBC Super Flyweight World title, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, 20-0, stepping in with Pedro Guevara, who's 42-4 with a draw. And the main event, of course, Jaron Ennis, 32-0, friend of the show, defending his IBF welterweight world title against Karen Chikadzian in a rematch. Chikadzian somehow worked his way into the IBF mandatory slot, and it's a fight that no one really asked for. Chikadzian's 24-2, and he was a difficult puzzle to solve for Ennis in the first fight. Does that mean he's going to be a difficult puzzle to solve in the second fight, Eddie? Or is it going to be much more exciting? Because I don't really want to see round 13 of that fight.
Honestly, I don't think it was a tough puzzle to solve as far as winning every round, because if you looked at the scorecard or what most people thought of the fight, he didn't lose a round. But, or in fact, he didn't really lose a moment. There was times that, he threw punches, but he really didn't do a lot. But he was very good defensively and had fantastic footwork, which I guess also kept him from getting stopped. But, but he didn't take any chances. And if you don't take any chances, nobody's really going to want to see that. You know what I mean? Especially in a fight where you're not the favorite. You're basically fighting a fighter who is, supposedly going on to great things, and you're expected to just basically be there to get knocked out. Congratulations, you didn't get knocked out. But you didn't really do yourself any favors by not really putting forth the effort to win. Now, like I said, he did have a lot of great qualities, like a few, like his footwork was great, his defense was great, but unless you're going to put any offense with it, or at least try to win the fight, it's not going to really do anything for anyone. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be boots out there going and hammering away at you. You know what I mean? And you're not really making them pay for anything. So if he's going to go in here and, congratulations to him for getting another opportunity, but if he's going to go in there and fight boots and, try to, make some kind of, or, make people want to see him again, he's going to have to take chances. Whether or not he wins, I don't think he's going to be able to win. But I do think it will help him at least gain a few more fans in a competitive loss if he can do something like that. But I just don't see him being able to do, even be competitive as far as like, the scorecard. So that may be a bit of a stretch. But I think he can make the fight more interesting what the last one is. Obviously, I mean, you couldn't do any worse, but I think he can definitely try to make the fight a little more interesting. And if he does that, I think he'll gain a few fans, because he wasn't a bad fighter at all from when I seen him fight before.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be tuning in, of course. Boots is a friend of the show. I do hope this time he gets rid of Ceglia, and otherwise I do think he'll cop a lot of flack again. I'm quite excited to see Bam on the card as well. That's why I say it's a really good card. You're going to literally be seeing Ernesto Mercado, who's a dynamite prospect, Austin Williams, who's a very good prospect as well, Raymond Ford, obviously a world level fighter, Bam Rodriguez, world level fighter, and Jaron Ennis, world level fighter. Those tickets as well, I think the ticket prices were not too bad as well, in the venue. So it's a good card with a lot of value for money. Jesse Bam Rodriguez, like I was going to just say there, he's boxing Pedro Guevara, who is coming off a really good win last time out against Andrew Maloney. He went out there to Australia and beat him on his own turf. And the 4 losses that he's got 42 wins, but the 4 losses have all been very close. 3 of them have been split decision losses. 1 was a majority decision. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Obviously, he's never been stopped. It's going to be a good fight here against Bam. And I'm just happy to see Bam on this card. I think Bam and Boots on the same card, it's got a ring to it, that. So I'll be tuning in. And like I say, hopefully that main event, in my opinion, is a bit more exciting than the first fight. But again, there's a lot to dig into. Anyway, that brings the preview part to a close. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. He's from Maidstone. His hands are made of stone, Mr. Sam Noakes. In part 2, we did the news, just one piece that we had for you. And then we just wrapped up the preview part just there. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and that wraps up episode 473 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive shout out to this week's special guest, the reigning British and European lightweight champion, Mr. Sam Noakes. The biggest thanks of all goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in. That is about everything now from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we'll see you all again same time next week.